You're going to communicate with people every day, all day, for the rest of your life. If you can learn to have fun with it, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Hi, I'm Tom Soul, and you're listening to the Social Seed Podcast. Make sure you pat yourself on the back for listening to something on social media that will help your life. And with that, I'm going to get into today's episode of communication, breaking barriers and making friends. And I'm going to start off with some words of wisdom by Larry King. Quote, I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything. So if I'm going to learn, I must do it by listening. End quote. And that's the most interesting part about communicating. It's not about what I have to say. It's about what the other person has to say. Because I already know the things that I know, but I don't know all the things that other people know. And that's what makes communicating really interesting. And so some of the topics that I'm going to go over today is breaking social barriers, discovering an interest in people, strategies for meeting people, and skills for a conversation. And all these things will help you make more friends. And so to begin with breaking social barriers, basically, these are just the obstacles that we have to speaking with other people. Some of them are psychological, like anxiety, kind of like how I feel every time before I start and press the record button. You know, my heart beats a little bit faster. I'm worried, am I going to say the right things? But really, you just have to get over it, right? That's just what it is. You have to communicate with people. It's a very important aspect of your life. You're going to communicate with people every day, all day, for the rest of your life. And if you can learn to have fun with it, I think you're really going to enjoy it. And there's also another psychological barrier is biases. How we feel about other people, right? Things that we believe about someone that we don't even know to be true. And if we do this, then we kind of block out that person, maybe that race, and like we're missing so much there. You're missing a huge part of your life if you're never going to talk to somebody based on a bias. And you might just be lazy, right? I find myself in this category a lot. Like I'm out having fun with friends and I'm lazy. I just talk to the people I know and I don't go talk to other people I might be interested in talking to because I become a little bit lazy. But you got to get up and go talk to those people because you never know. You might just meet your best friend, right? Don't be lazy. And another one is if you're unwilling to listen to people, like your point is proven in your head, you're not willing to listen to anybody, nothing they can say can teach you anything. And that's just kind of crazy because there is so much to learn. I don't think you could ever learn everything. Matter of fact, I know you can't learn everything. There are language barriers, which may be the language altogether, which I found myself dealing with when I first went to Luperon in the Dominican Republic. A lot of people there speak very broken English, just like my very broken Spanish. And it was hard to just buy food, like knowing exactly how much things cost and to ask like where I might find a certain food. And that's what made me start doing Duolingo because the language barrier just started driving me crazy. If you can't communicate with people, it's really hard to buy things, get directions for things, to do anything. How do you know? You have to find out by luck, and that's kind of annoying. So if you have to learn another language, just go ahead and do it. Accents. You know, I'm a sailor, so we see people from different boats, different countries all the time, and their accents, I'm sure they're hard to understand sometimes. And if that happens, all you got to do is ask them again to clarify that. Be like, I don't think I heard exactly what you said. Can you say that again? And because accents, sometimes they're really thick and I might have an accent, I just don't know it. But yeah, or another thing is like slang or misunderstanding of words. Because I had some friends from Australia and they came over the other day and they were talking about tinned chicken, like Tinned, 10 chicken. And I was like, what is 10 chicken? I was like, metalled chicken? And they're like, in a can? I was like, oh yeah, canned chicken. Because we were talking about canned chicken. If you're going to be underway for a long time, it's kind of a good way to have like a protein in your pantry. And it's just funny, like little words like that can have a different meaning to them. And the same, going back and forth between cultures is sometimes we have different uses of the language, and it's hard to, might be a barrier because we don't totally understand exactly what they mean. And then we might have cultural barriers like values, beliefs. And yeah, some people might think a married man can't talk to another woman. And maybe that's old age, like way back in the day. I don't know, but I just feel like there are some um, cultural beliefs and values that I'm sure that will keep you from communicating with other people. I don't really know any that I have. I just figure if I'm out and open about my conversation, and if I'm talking to another lady, I'm going to definitely introduce her to my wife. I'm not going to go in a corner or something. And I figure it's kind of just, as long as you keep it honest, it should be pretty good. But if you do have cultural beliefs and where you can't talk to other people, I respect that, just the way it is. And or like norms, like I was talking about, you can't go off in a corner and talk to somebody, but like, out in the open talking to somebody, I think it would be okay. So those are the kind of the barriers that, not all of the barriers that are out there. There are just so many more. I can never name them all. But basically, you got to find what your barrier is or barriers are and work with that. Figure out what can I do to break this barrier? Like recognizing it is the first key and figuring out a way to not let that stop you from going out and finding more friends, because life is meant to be enjoyed through connections with other people. If you're just at home all the time by yourself, life's going to be a little bit boring and you're missing out on a lot of stuff. You're missing out on just adventures people have had. You're missing out on just interesting ideas that people have, or just their experiences in general, like places they have been. So you're missing out on a lot. And that kind of goes into the next area of topic is discovering an interest in people. And if you discover an interest in people, I think making a conversation with that person will become a lot easier. And I'll give you some suggestions about ways to think about your next conversation with a person to make it a little bit interesting and to be able to extend the conversation. Because, I think that's another thing is people worry about, I have nothing to say to this person. Well, when you think about that person and trying to find an interest in that person and seeing what they do that you can find something to talk about, it makes talking to them really easy. And not only does it make talking to them really easy, it lets them talk about themselves, which makes you seem like a really good listener. And it's good for you because then you get to hear information that you don't know. Like at the beginning when I read the words of wisdom, you need to listen so you find out things that you don't know because you already know the things in your head, but you don't know the things in other people's head. And number one, I'd like to think of people as like a good audiobook. I want to hear their stories. Like, what have they done? Especially for me as a sailor, because a lot of these people have been to different places, so we can ask them their experiences there. And we met a lady the other day who lives on an island over in Solarte. And, it's nice to get her perception of what it's like to live in Solarte, because we're thinking about buying a place somewhere down in Panama in the future. And it's nice to hear other people's thoughts about why they like to live there, why they don't like to live there, or where they would want to live. Because if you get enough collective information from people, you can kind of get what you need to know. You can figure out where you want to buy a house at through all the recommendations of everybody, if they all kind of agree on the same kind of area. So that's another good source, is to think of them as an audiobook and listen to their story. Well, I already got into the second one, is a source of information. People are great sources of information. If you can find out what they do, if you want to find out what they do, or if you have a general interest, you can ask them information. And people, once they know something and you get them talking, they will love to talk about what they know. And you can enjoy that because you can learn something from that. And I love it because interesting thoughts, interesting ideas, great conversations. Like it's really a lot of fun when you get to talk to somebody who you really connect with. Another one is to find like an attribute that they have or a skill and see how you could like attain that skill. And to start off with communicating, I know people, and I'm sure you know people as well, who are just great communicators. Every time they come somewhere, they just automatically go up to every person, shake their hand, say hello, how you doing, give them a hug, and they seem to walk around relentlessly and talk to every single person, and everybody knows that person. And you're like, man, that's a lot of effort. It really is a lot of effort. But those people get to know people, and the more people you meet, the more chances you have of meeting someone you really like, get along with, and will become a best friend. Ooh, this is a good one. You can treat it like a classroom, because if you want to learn about communicating and you want to become a better communicator, then in the next topic, I should have left this one for last, but it's going to be strategies that you got to use when you're having a conversation. And the more you use these strategies that I'm going to talk about in a few seconds, then the better communicator you become. And not only the better communicator you become, just the better your mind and the more clearer your mind works, and the way you get better at what you're doing. You're able to ask more pinpointed questions because you're able to think more clearly, quickly. Um, so it becomes interesting. You can use that conversation as a classroom, but you have to remind yourself that you're using these strategies, and just think of it. Every time you're starting to talk to somebody, think of one of these strategies I'm going to talk about in a moment and use that during that conversation so that it becomes like your own little classroom, like you're in front of a class, you're talking to people, and this is your instruction time or your learning time for your experience. And the last one is the most important one, actually, is think of them as your new best friend. They're going to be, if you meet more people, communicate with more people, you're going to meet more people, just how it goes. And the more you meet people, the more you have a chance of meeting really good friends. Because how would we have met our really good friends that we have today? Like if you go and think about one of your friends, think about the first experiences you had with them and some of the memories back in the day. Like how cool is that, right? How did you meet those people? If you never had those experiences with those people, you would never know them. But yeah, if you never go out and think of people as interesting, and you never go out and communicate and meet new people, you're never going to meet new friends. So I think that's something that's important to, and not to mention, the more people you meet, the more best friends you have or more good friends you have, the more chances are that someone's going to live long enough to be there for you when you both are, all of you are much older. Because not everyone lives, things take our lives. So the more friends you have, the less lonely you're going to be in old age. Okay, the next area is going to be strategies for meeting people. And I think one of the easiest ways are friends of friends. Meeting friends through friends. As a sailor, we meet a lot on the beach at bars and to cookouts. And if you know one person, you get to know other people. And you could walk away, or you can, kind of establish your area there for a little while, listen in, but make sure you break one of those barriers if you have anxiety or whatever it may be, the accent or the language. You got to break that barrier and talk to those people, because you're going to meet friends of friends. And then when you meet those friends, you can meet more friends. It's like a chain. You can just keep meeting people. And eventually, like I said, people are going to come, people are going to go. But the more people you meet, the more people you know. Good rhyme. And another fun thing is, I've done this a lot over the since we've been cruising, is volunteering, picking up garbage with people. Like you're doing a good thing, which is something that we care about, is keeping the ocean and the land clean. And by volunteering, you meet people, and you're going to meet people who are like-minded, right? You're going to, like, here we met, I think there was like 50 people about a month and a half ago that were doing a trash pickup in the mangroves. And, they were young, old, Panamanian, they didn't speak English. I didn't speak like great Spanish, but you know what? Smiles, handshakes, hugs, like all that stuff goes a long way. And when you meet that person again, they're going to smile and you're going to wave at them, and eventually you're going to form a relationship. And that could be the slow way in. And eventually, as you learn more Spanish, they learn more English, you get to communicate. And now you have a friend on the island, or at least I have a friend on the island. Um, this is a big one, and this is hard, was hard for me, but it makes so much sense. It's saying yes. When someone asks you to do something, unless it's going to kill you or you absolutely cannot do it, say yes. Because I tell you what, some of the best times are going to happen when you say yes. I, my wife is like, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like, "No." And then eventually I think, yes, because you know what? I know every time I've said yes, I've had fun. And I don't think that you're going to have much regret by saying yes. And you're going to meet so many people by saying yes. And it's going to get you out. You're going to do something that you're probably uncomfortable with, which is good for your brain, because anything that's complex and hard and you have to learn, it's good for your brain. It's making it work. It's going to improve who you are as a person. Trust me. I did a topic on that last week. It's called neuroplasticity, and it's how your brain works. When you do those things that you don't want to do, that are hard and complicated at first, you make your brain work. Not only are you going to meet people, you're going to make your brain work and get smarter. And this one worked out really well. Facebook groups. When you go on vacation, we had a friend probably about 3 weeks ago. They came down, rented an Airbnb, and they got into a Facebook group, which connected to the Bocas group. And they asked if was there anyone who had a family who wanted to meet up with them. So my wife, Chelsea, replied yes. And they were a couple from Ohio, and they invited us out to their Airbnb, which was on the water in a beautiful place that we had gone by before, by Drago Beach and Bocas. And we got to stay with them that night, and they had a cookout. We brought food. They had food. We drank some beers, and our kids got along, had a great time. And we ended up meeting a couple of days later at another place where the kids got together. On one of the episodes I was talking about, they did volleyball, and they were there. And so Facebook groups, it's kind of cool, right? We met someone from Ohio in Bocas del Toro while they were on vacation through a Facebook group. So that's another way of meeting people. And now our kids are friends with them on Messenger, and they're going to keep in contact. And we actually have contacts with people all over the world because of sailing. That's one of the reasons why I did learn more about communicating, is because we have to communicate with so many different people, and all these areas help. So meeting new people, once you force yourself to do it, it becomes easier. But to get back, another strategy for meeting people, and this is a great one, it's your kids, right? By meeting the parents of your kids, not only are you going to know the other kid, you're going to know their parents, and then you guys can communicate with each other. You can talk, you can hang out. So now you know what your kid's doing, they know what your kid's doing. So it's like it creates a stronger connection between the families. And kids have been a great way of doing it. We've had our kids, every time we go by a kid boat, we have them wave. And eventually we meet up, we say hi, and eventually we become friends. It's a key way for us to meet people on the water, keep our kids happy, keep us happy, and it's really worked out. And I think, if you give it a chance, it can work out for you too. And I'm sure that's a way that most people, or not most people, but a lot of people do it, is through their kids. But I know growing up, my parents didn't know probably half the people, their parents, that I knew, as friends. So yeah, you can make friends like that. Moving on to the next section, skills for a conversation. Now, these are skills that you're going to use when you're having a conversation with somebody. And you don't have to use them all at the same time, because you would be a genius if you can do that. And you will be a genius after you practice them enough, because you will use all these eventually after you do one at a time or two at a time, and you get really good at doing them, because they take time to remember when you're having a conversation. Because when you first start off with your conversation, you're going to be stuck in your old ways, which takes a while to get away from. But that's why when you're having a conversation, you just need to remember at least one of these strategies and use it and you try to remember one every single time you have a conversation, and you will get better, and you will notice that people will think you're a great conversationalist. And starting off with number one, that's going to be your body language. And, I thought about this yesterday when I was standing outside and waiting to go up to do jujitsu. And like, I made myself open to certain people and not open to other people. And that can come by just looking at somebody as they walk by, or looking away from somebody as they walk by. If you're not looking at somebody, the chances of them wanting to talk to you are unlikely, unless they're your best friend. Then it's going to come up here and hit you in the back and be like, hey, what's up? But your body language, looking at them, smiling at them, waving to them, saying hello, those are things that kind of open up your body, your person, for people to want to have a conversation with you. If you look happy, you look like a person they want to talk to. If you look angry and not happy, you got a frown face, then they're probably not going to want to talk to you. So your body language is like the initial way for new people to decide if they want to meet you or they want to talk to you, or walk away from you. So the next one, after someone comes up and they are meeting you, is your greeting. Shaking their hand, saying hello, giving them a hug, introducing yourself. And this is really easy. And I found that over time, it's really awkward to kind of walk up to people unless you're comfortable with doing it. So, and the way that I found to be most comfortable is just walking up to people and saying, hey, how are you doing? My name is Tom. What's your name? And then you shake hands. And at that, you're like, and then you mention something that you notice about them, and the conversation starts from there. The main thing here is when you get their name, remember their name, because it's very important. When you are talking to somebody, saying their name, or like when you're done, when you leave them, or when your wife comes over, you can introduce, be like, hey, Chelsea, this is Mike, and then that way they're like, he knows that I remember his name. And even if he doesn't remember my name, that's fine. But I want to remember their name because it shows that I paid attention and I feel like they're important. So the greeting, getting their name, even if you have to repeat it over and over in your head, or say it to them 3 times, be like, Mike, I'm just going to say your name so I remember that your name is Mike. All right, Mike, let's talk. You don't want to forget their name. And I feel that for the first 47 years of my life, I forgot a lot of people's name. And now I make it a point to associate their name somehow in my mind so that I can remember them while I'm talking to them. The next one is, this one's really important, eye contact. Because if I'm talking to you, which I am right now, if I'm looking over like this the whole conversation, then it doesn't mean much. But looking in your eye, it's like we're right here. We're talking together right now. And that's the point. Giving you good eye contact shows you that I care. I want you to receive my message. I want to receive your message. So giving each other good eye contact lets me know that you're listening, and I let you know that I'm listening. And I think it's really important. And then the other one is active listening. Active listening is given like the, or like, oh yeah, or like the things that kind of keep them going, to show that you're following their conversation, that they're not just talking to a wall. And, you can, at some certain points, you can stop and, give them your 2 cents about what they just said. Or while you're talking to them, if you don't understand something, you can ask them a question, be like, wait, I didn't hear that last part. Like, what did you mean by this? Asking them to clarify, because that way it shows that you've been listening, you're interested in a conversation, and now you're kind of like going back and forth for clarification. And another one is your full attention. Because if I say, like, my kids are running around, or if I have a phone in my hand, or I'm like always looking off to the side, it doesn't show them that you take their attention seriously. And if you're going to go over and talk to somebody, then you might as well give them your full attention, because, like, again, they're going to feel important. They probably won't know that they feel important until you start making them feel unimportant by like looking at your phone and like going through like apps and looking in your social media. Like, that's kind of rude, not nice. You need to give people your undivided attention, unless it's like an emergency, or, you got to think in your mind, if you have to get away, think of a valid excuse. But yeah, full attention is very important. And then this one here is a great rule, and I call it the 50-50 time rule. And that is, if you're taking up more than 50% of the conversation, you need to stop and be like, you can even go, this is what I do. I'm like, you know what? I've been saying a lot about me. I'm like, what about you? And because that way it kind of redirects it back to the other person, and you're not there talking the whole time. Because when you talk the whole time, it's a one-sided conversation. It's almost like it's not a conversation. It's like you telling me. And so that's what a conversation is, a back and forth of ideas. And so you want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that 50-50 time rule. It's really important, because like when you get interested or you get really excited about what you're talking about, you can keep going on forever. And you know what? If I don't mind if they go on forever, I'll just let them talk, because some people might not know the 50-50 time rule. So I'll just let them go on. I'm not going to be rude and be like, you've been talking a lot, but just listen. And if you can find a time period where you can interject with your own opinion, then or you can redirect the conversation. That works as well. And this one is really good for when you want to make like it a point. Like say you like somebody or you find them very interesting, you can find something in them and give them a genuine compliment that's unique to them, not just some fake one that's like, oh, you're real pretty, like it's like something that you notice about them that's unique, that you can compliment. Because right then and there, people feel like, I like this person. Not only are you talking and conversating, keeping good eye contact, and you're giving them your full attention, and you're remembering their name, you're giving them a compliment. So you're more likely to be a liked person. And when you do this, you get a lot of friends, and you don't even, you're not even trying. You're just being a good person when you use these strategies, and they work. And like I said before, at the very beginning of this section, is that you don't have to try and do them all, but you should try and do at least one. And first one I recommend is remembering their name, because that way they feel important, and it helps you to want to talk to them again, because you don't want to be like, I forgot their name, I don't want to go ask them again. But you know what? Even if you forget their name, the next time you meet them, be like, I forgot your name. I'm like, my name is Tom. What was your name again? And it's, it's just as simple as that. And that's the great way to just get it up front, get it out of the way, and don't forget their name again. Because if you forget it more than twice, then it's like, man, this person cannot remember my name. But yeah, use those 7 strategies. I'm going to say them all in order again. You should probably write them down and think about them, because I think these are part of the most important parts, because you're going to have conversations with people and you want to remember them. So you can first try them out on your friends. So number 1, your body language. 2, your greeting. Remember their name. 3, eye contact. 4, active listening. Give them that little egg on so they'll keep going. 5, paying full attention. 6, 50-50 time limit rule. 7, a unique comment. And if you can work on those, I think you're going to find your brain will actually work better. It's kind of interesting. So not only are you being nice to these people, you're actually becoming smarter. Your brain is becoming more efficient. You're using more parts of your brain. This is like neuroplasticity all over the place. You'll get good. So with that, I don't want to keep going on. I'm going to read the quote again from Larry King. Quote, I remind myself every morning, nothing I say this day will teach me anything. So if I'm going to learn, I must do it by listening. And that's important. Listening. So remember to listen. Listening to people, you're going to get more information from them, because like I said before, you know what you know, but you don't know what they know. So if you go in with just listening and giving your 2 cents once in a while, you have a great conversation. So when you have these conversations, be yourself. Learn every time. Break the barriers of any anxieties that you have, or any social phobias that you have, and discover an interest in people. Meet people by using some of the strategies for the places you want to meet them, and use those 7 skills for when you have a conversation. And I think you're going to have a good time making new friends. You're going to find it easier to meet new friends. And you're going to find people interesting, because when you start finding people interesting, then you want to meet more people. And when you meet those people, you'll find the good in them. And then they'll like you. And you'll be a good friend. All right. You can find me on Facebook at the Social Seed Podcast. You can find me at thesocialseedpodcast.com. And you can find me on YouTube. All right. Other than that, have a great day. Go out. Find some more friends. Bye-bye.